Hey coders, welcome back to our SwiftUI series. Today we're diving into animations in Swift. We'll start off some basic animations using withAnimation and then get into a more complex example by creating a loading spinner with transitions. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm just going to start a new Xcode project, but of course feel free to add this into your existing projects as well. So last one I did was a Pro button example, so I'll just call this one animations example SwiftUI. Make sure your interface is on SwiftUI and save it appropriately, or prepare to add it to your project, I suppose. So the first thing we're going to do is within our content view, we're going to create a simple button that scales up and down when tapped. So what we're going to need to do first is we're going to create a private variable. So we're going to go to our structure here, and we'll add some space, and we'll say at state with a capital S. We'll say private var for variable. And we'll say is scaled. We'll have that for now equal false. So this is going to track the is scaled value in order to control the circle's size. Awesome. Next, we're going to add some text here. So I'm just going to get rid of our kind of original kind of template things here. I'm going to say text. We'll say tap the circle. We're then going to add a circle. And from there, we'll add some customization to it. So we'll change the color. So this one will say fill. And we'll fill that with the color of blue, perhaps. Next, we're going to add a frame because it's a little bit big right now. So we'll go ahead and say width. And now we're going to reference our is scaled. So we'll say width if is scaled. It would be 150. And then we're going to say else. So we're using that ternary operator here. We'll say 100. We'll do the exact same thing with our height. Height is scaled. It would be 150, else 100. So we're using that ternary operator there in order to kind of basically say, okay, if it's scaled, we're going to have it be a certain width. Oh, I forgot my colon here. Cool. Next thing we're going to do is we can do our scale effect. So I'm going to do dot scale effect. And from here, we're going to do the exact same thing. Is scaled, right? We'll have it be maybe 1.5. And then we'll add our ternary here. We'll have it maybe just be 1.0. And then finally, we'll add our animation. So say dot animation. And here we can add a ease in. Let's do ease in out actually. Ease in out. So this is an animation that combines the behaviors of in and out easing animations. There are a few other ones here. So you can just type dot. You can see we have ease in, ease out, etc. Right? And we could even kind of change the duration of all these things. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll add another bracket and we'll say duration. And from here, we're going to set it to be 0.3. If we feel like that's too fast or too slow, we can of course change it later. And let's also add a value to check if is scaled. Cool. Let's add a button now. And we'll say button. And we'll have this animate. Add a text that says animate. Add our brace, and then we'll say is scaled dot toggle. And this is going to be able to toggle when we press the button. So let's go ahead and try and press it. And kind of see we might actually need a little bit of padding or perhaps something. So let's go to our VStack and add some spacing here. So we'll add some brackets right next to our VStack, and we'll say spacing. And let's set this to be maybe 30. Maybe a bit more. Let's try 40 instead. Not 400. That would be a little bit too large. So now when we press this animate button, kind of see that we scaled the button up and down. Pretty cool stuff. Let's go ahead and run it in the simulator so it's a little bit easier to see. All right, we can see in the simulator works the exact same. So with just a few lines, we've added interactive animation that scales the circle up and down. SwiftUI automatically animates this change with animation and makes it smooth. Pretty cool stuff. Next, let's explore transition animations. This allows us to fade, slide, or scale elements in and out of the view when they appear or disappear. So let's go ahead and add another state private variable here. So at state private var, and let's call this one show rectangle. And let's have that equal false as well, kind of for like the default state of it. We'll go under our button here, make a little bit of space, and we'll go ahead and add another button here. And we'll say button toggle rectangle, and in the actions we're going to say with animation, and then we're going to say dot ease in out. We're going to use the exact same one there. We're going to set its duration. Let's see what 0.5 looks like. And again, we can always change it or update it later. Then we're going to add another brace here, add a little bit of space, and we're going to say show rectangle dot toggle. All right, now under here, what we're going to do is we're going to add an if statement. So we're going to leave these two braces here, and we'll say if show rectangle. So it's going to check if that condition is true. We'll then create a rectangle. Now let's fill it with the color purple maybe this time. Whatever color you would like, totally up to you. I'll also add a frame, add the width, let's try 200, and the height, let's try to make that 100. It's a rectangle after all. And then we'll add the transition. Let's put that one. Transition. And from there, we'll have it be dot scale. So this is going to return the transition that scales to the size of the view. Let's go ahead and see what that looks like now. We'll reload our preview here. We've added a little bit of code, so maybe it's having some trouble keeping up with us here. We can also run it on the simulator if we'd like. All right, let's toggle our rectangle, and we'll kind of see how it kind of fades in and out of existence. So the with animation wraps the toggle change to add an animation, and the transition.scale makes the rectangle scale in and out smoothly. So now the rectangle animates with a scale effect and fades out when removed. SwiftUI provides several transition options like dot slide, opacity, and scale. So let's kind of see how those look. Let's do dot opacity. Kind of see that kind of fades in a little bit there. It also still is pushing the elements up due to the V-stack spacing. We can also try out slide. So let's try out dot slide. Ooh, kind of slides in from the left and slides out to the right. That's pretty cool. I like that one. I wonder if we can add multiple transitions here. So let's try dot opacity as well. Okay, so we can't have multiple transitions here. The slide is going to take the first priority. Good to know. All right, now let's create a loading spinner that rotates continuously to demonstrate a little bit more of a complex animation. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to comment off our previous code here, just so we're kind of working in a fresher environment. So I'm going to go ahead and type at state private var, and this time we'll say is loading. And we'll also set this to be false at the start of our program. Let's go ahead and now create a Z-stack to add the rotating circle that serves as the loading spinner. So we'll go ahead and create a Z stack. And within here, we'll go ahead and create a circle. And we'll add a stroke. So we can do dot stroke. And here we can actually set the line width. So I'll type line width with a capital W. And we can set this to be a number. Let's see how 5 looks. That looks pretty good. So it's going to kind of create that outline. Let's also add a foreground color. So I'll say foreground style. Color dot, I like the purple. Purple is a cool color. So we can change that to be a nice purple. And now we can also add a frame to adjust the height. So let's say frame width. Maybe we'll try 50 and height 50 as well. Just height dash. Cool. We can also now add a rotation effect. So let's go ahead and see how that works. So do dot rotation effect. And now we can add an angle. So I'll say bracket angle. And then we'll add another bracket to add our degrees. And we can set this to be, if it is loading, then we'll have it be, use our ternary operator again here, 360, else it would be 0. And next we'll add our animation. So we'll go to the next line, dot animation, add a bracket, animation with a capital A, dot linear. We'll then add a duration, so bracket duration, colon, let's try 1. And then we'll say dot repeat forever. So this repeats the animation for the lifespan of the view containing the animation. And then we'll also say bracket auto reverses. We'll set that to be false. And then we're going to then say comma value. We're going to do our check for is loading. Cool. Now let's add a button down here as well within our Z stack. So make a little bit of space here. Button, and we'll have this be start loading. Add our brace, and we'll say is loading dot toggle. Okay, so let's go ahead and press the start loading button. We'll kind of see if we see that rotation effect in play. So unfortunately, because we don't have any colors within this circle, we can't really see if it's spinning or not. So let's go ahead and add some colors to give our spinner a more polished look. And we can actually add a gradient. So let's go to our assets catalog here, and we'll create 2 new custom colors. And we'll make a spinner start and spinner end for a gradient effect. So I'm going to go to my assets, new color set, and we'll say, spinner start. Go to our appearances, show the color panel. I'm going to make kind of a blue color here. Cool. And I'm going to make another color set, spinner end. And let's make kind of a bit more of a purpley color here. That looks pretty cool. All right, and now let's go back to our content view here. We're just going to make a really quick change, and within the stroke, we're going to change that to also have a linear gradient. So I'm just going to go ahead and make some space here, and we'll type linear gradient. Say that's going to be a gradient, then gradient one more time, and from here we're going to add our colors. So I'm going to say colors, which is going to be an array. So I'm going to add another colon, space, add our kind of square brackets there for our array. We'll add our first color bracket, and that is spinner start. Cool. We'll then separate them by a comma. So we're going to do arrow key right, comma, color, brackets, spinner, end. Cool stuff. We also need to declare the start point. So we're going to go ahead and go outside the square bracket and one more there. We're going to add a comma. Let's add some space so we can kind of see where we're working as well. We'll add a start point. From here we can say dot top leading, and then we can also add the endpoint. So we'll say comma endpoint. Maybe we can set this one to maybe be the bottom trailing. We'll just add a comma, which will then take us into our line width. Oh, I forgot to, sorry, close off the bracket and then add the comma. My apologies. Awesome, now we can see when we press the start loading button, we do kind of have that animation that is playing out. It sometimes lags a little bit in the preview, so let's go ahead and run it on the simulator itself. The simulator is loaded. Let's go ahead and start loading. You can kind of see this gradient is moving around in the circle. Pretty cool stuff. If we press it again, it does kind of start to lag out a little bit. So just be careful with that. And that's it for our intro into animations in SwiftUI. Today we created a simple and complex animation. We used transitions with withAnimation and built a reusable loading spinner. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more SwiftUI tutorials. Until next time, dream big and code bigger.